Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about how Dungeons and Dragons continues to braid itself and intertwine itself with massive Hollywood movie studios, and how its intellectual properties are incredibly valuable to Hollywood today. And we're all going to talk about this in context to a major new star who is now being connected to Dungeons and Dragons, Chris Hemsworth. All right, so let's talk about this. So first of all, Chris Hemsworth, prior to today, was not really connected to Dungeons and Dragons at all. He wasn't in any of the intellectual property. He wasn't. He was not in a D&D movie. He was not connected to Dungeons and Dragons. Now that's a boo-hoo because Chris Hemsworth is a huge star from Marvel. He's famous worldwide for playing Thor, and it really has made him world famous, exactly the way that Iron Man completely reinvigorated and put Robert Downey Jr. back on the map, right? It's the reason why Scarlett Johansson is world famous, right? Um, if you were an Avenger, the world knows you. Jeremy Renner, that guy, world famous, but like without playing Hawkeye, I don't think he'd really be significant at all, right? So all of this is happening, and basically we reach a point where Chris Hemsworth has escaped the orbit of Dungeons and Dragons. He really hasn't been in it, but that just changed. Now that changed, and so let's talk about how it just changed. So it just was announced that Chris Hemsworth is signing up for the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover series of films, right? It's either going to be a trilogy, maybe even more than that, right? And this is big news. Now, what's that got to do with Dungeons and Dragons? Well, the reason why Transformers is a Dungeons and Dragons intellectual property, in my humble opinion. You definitely need to know Dungeons and Dragons history to know this, and you need to know deep lore. Okay, so how are Transformers Dungeons and Dragons characters? Let me walk you through it. Okay, so Dungeons and Dragons connects to Magic the Gathering, specifically connects to Dominaria. Dominaria is the main setting of Magic the Gathering, right? Literally half of the new settings for 5th era Dungeons and Dragons are Magic the Gathering settings. Ravnica, Strixhaven, Theros, right? And all of them connect directly to Dominaria, right? So Dominaria had a set called March of the Machine and the Brothers War, right? These sets brought Transformers directly into the Brothers War setting, right? Printed them as cards in March of the Machines and Brother War, right? So Transformers has literally printed cards, and at this point, because we have Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, Baldur's Gate, Ravnica, Theros, Strixhaven, you can count Magic the Gathering cards as simply unbound canon pages of Dungeons and Dragons. It's all they are, right? Like when you get a new when you get a new Magic the Gathering set, that's just a new D&D canon hardback that doesn't have a spine. That's all you're looking at, right? Like Magic the Gathering produces D&D canon. It mixes characters directly into Dungeons and Dragons settings, right? So these Transformers in this Chris Hemsworth movie are literally, in my humble opinion, Dungeons and Dragons characters, right? They're right there. The brothers who were, dealing with Phyrexia and needed to fight them, brought in Optimus Prime, brought in Bumblebee, brought in the Transformers directly, and involved them in the Brothers War against Phyrexia directly, right? Pretty astounding. It's really pretty amazing story change, right? So G.I. Joe Transformers is really a Dungeons and Dragons movie if you understand Dungeons and Dragons deep lore, in my humble opinion. So Chris Hemsworth is now coming into the Dungeons and Dragons world. That's incredibly exciting. And it's the first time where what should be happening is happening. Marvel is dying. Dungeons and Dragons movie series is on the rise, right? So let Marvel drop off, and we'll take all their megastars and put them directly into Dungeons and Dragons movies. Chris Hemsworth comes to Dungeons and Dragons, in my humble opinion. Every word you just heard is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.